The golden carriage carried Cinderella toward the palace, which stood high on a hill like a glowing jewel. Lanterns hung from the trees, music filled the air, and guests in beautiful clothes entered through tall gates. When Cinderella stepped out of her carriage, everyone turned to stare. "Who is she?" women whispered. "She's beautiful," men murmured. Even the guards bowed, unsure of her identity. Inside the grand ballroom, chandeliers sparkled like hundreds of bright stars. The prince stood at the center of the room, surrounded by elegant girls trying to catch his attention. But when Cinderella entered, everything changed. The room fell silent. The prince saw her, and his heart seemed to stop for a moment. He walked toward her as if drawn by magic. "May I have this dance?" he asked softly. Cinderella nodded, and they began to dance across the polished floor, moving gracefully, as though they had known each other forever. They danced through one song, then another, then another. They talked, laughed, and shared stories. Cinderella felt lighter than air, as if she were dreaming. The stepsisters were across the room watching her closely, not recognizing her at all. They only felt jealous that the prince had eyes for no one else. The night passed like a gentle dream, until Cinderella heard the distant sound of a clock bell. Against midnight, bong, bong, bong. Her eyes widened. It was midnight approaching. "Oh no," she whispered. "I must go." The prince reached out for her hand. "Wait, I don't even know your name." But Cinderella could not stay. She hurried toward the staircase, her gown shimmering behind her like falling stars. The prince chased after her, calling, "Please, don't go." Cinderella ran down the grand steps, and one of her glass slippers slipped off her foot. But there was no time to pick it up. As she reached the gates, the last stroke of midnight rang through the air. Everything changed at once. Her gown faded back into rags, the horses became mice, and the golden carriage slowly turned back into a pumpkin. Cinderella was left standing in the road, barefoot, except for one remaining slipper. She held it close and hurried home in the soft moonlight, her heart still full of magic from the night. The next morning, the kingdom woke to exciting news. The prince would marry the mysterious girl who had left behind the glass slipper. He sent servants to every house. Every young woman lined up to try the slipper. The stepsisters pushed ahead, certain they were the chosen ones. But no matter how they squeezed or tugged, the slipper would not fit. Cinderella watched quietly from the doorway, holding her broom. Her stepmother tried to block the way, saying, "Oh, she didn't go to the ball. Don't bother with her." But the royal servant insisted every young lady must try. Cinderella sat down and gently placed her foot into the slipper. It fit perfectly, smooth as silk, and then she took the second slipper from her pocket. The servant nearly dropped his scroll in surprise. He bowed deeply. "You are the one the prince seeks." The stepsisters gasped. The stepmother froze in shock. Cinderella didn't gloat or act proud. Instead, she smiled kindly, as she always did. She was taken to the palace, where the prince's eyes filled with happiness the moment he saw her. "I knew I'd find you," he whispered. "I knew the magic was real." Soon after, Cinderella and the prince were married in a gentle, joyful ceremony. The palace bells rang, birds sang in the garden, and even the clouds looked softer that day. Cinderella became a princess, not because of her beauty, not because of magic, but because of her pure heart. And she never forgot the importance of kindness, courage, and believing in dreams. She forgave her stepsisters and treated everyone in the kingdom with warmth. And every night before bed, she opened her balcony window to let the soft wind carry her whisper into the sky. "Thank you for the magic." The end.